Hello and welcome back to another week of Sambo iRacing. We are back in the brand new Ferrari 296 Challenge Edition at Watkins Glen boot layout for another track guide. If you are new to my channel, what we do is a hot lap and breakdown, then we're back in the cockpit one final time with the driving line on. Any questions, let me know in the comments and let's start the hot lap. Right, let's start the hot lap. Smashing it down the main straight in top gear. Looking for the 300, long trail off, down to third, exit nice and wide. Just been doing GT4 around here, and this is just like doing GT4 but sped up. Absolutely flat through 2, 3 and 4. This is where you're mentally preparing yourself for the bus stop. At the 400. Long trail off, still not on the gas. Now we drop it down to fourth. We really pick up on the gas. Tiny bit of braking. As soon as we see the marshal's hook, we start picking it back up. Early braking into turn 6. Again down to third. Long trail off once again. Back over to left hand side. We can brake later here because we've got the hill helping us. And we brake quite hard, but again a long trail off. You'll know from last week, this car needs and loves trail braking. As we look for just before the 200 coming into the heel, again down to third gear. Again we can exit wide around here. Before we come to the top of the hill, once more a long trail off, down to third gear. Tiny little dab on the brake at 200, down to fourth, up to fifth, back out to left hand side just before the end of the tyres. Leave it in fourth gear, don't hit the wall. Over and across the line in a 143.063. Right, let's do the breakdown. Right, just before we do the breakdown, I want to ask a quick question. There is another channel that does guides that is dropping their temps down to the bare minimum so that they have the fastest times. Now, I can do the same, or I can do it on the schedule settings, but I'm kind of, I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to put times out that are a second faster than the fastest that week and make everyone think that I'm pulling one over them, or whether I should just continue using the settings for the week. So let me know in the comments what you think is the best way of doing it. I won't mention the other driver's name. He thinks that you should get good at racing though, so let me know. Right, once again, so it's just before the 300. More or less at these traffic lights on the left-hand side. We're going to start braking, and we brake quite hard up to about 75%. Hold it around there. Then we start trailing it off. We're still trailing it off all the way down to the apex. We want to be just cutting the first level of this corner. We're down to third gear, and we're getting up to 100% more or less as we come off. We can exit nice and wide here, keeping our right-hand tyres on the rumble strip. And as I say, we're flat through here. You can just run over the rumble strip, let you make sure, or let you know in your head that you're touching it. And you've got to start the turn in for this bit of turn 3 quite early, because this car does understeer, especially on cold tyres. Right, so it's just before, well, it's just after the 500, just before the 400 coming into the bus stop, and we're just trailing it off down to the first apex. So we're almost off here, and now we just do a tiny little bit more braking, only a couple of percent more to get us through the second one. Now, once the car is settled in between the second and the third apex, so when we drop it down to fourth and we start getting back onto 100% at the third apex, then we're cutting the fourth apex. And then we're very lightly on the brake, as you can see, and then picking it back up. Really nicely cambered, turn 5. It's a difficult braking point, so it's more or less the Motul engine oils and lubricants sign. Once that comes out of your viewing sight, that's when we brake for the chute, so up to about 75%. Then we're trailing it off, down to third gear, just as we get to the apex, and we start building back up. I could have probably gone slightly earlier on the gas, because I did leave myself a couple of feet on the right hand side here. It's going to be just after the 300 that we brake here into tow. And again, we're braking up to about 85%. Long trail off again. And again down to third gear. And we're just building back up. Use the full exit on exit. And again, it's going to be just before the 200, just after the 300 that we start braking here into heel. And again, braking up to about 85%. So basically threshold braking. The ABS will kick in a little bit, but in a 15-20 minute race, it's not actually going to damage you too much. At least the ABS is far better in this than the MX-5. Now, it's more or less the end of these railings on the right-hand side that we're braking in the Ferrari here. And we're braking again up to about 75%. And again, very gentle when we actually get back on the throttle around here because it is such a slippy corner. It's got an adverse camber, so it means it's going away from us, sloping the wrong way. And it is very easy to end up in that wall on the right-hand side. It's going to be the 200 meter mark here where we brake just up to about 35%, trail it off, we drop it down to fourth, then we get back on the gas, cut in the corner a little bit, up to fifth, and now it's going to be the end of these tyres on the left-hand side. Our final braking mark up to about 50%, and again we drop it down to fourth. We want to just get our right-hand tyres on the rumble strip, start building up. I actually went a little bit early and had to ease off before going again, which isn't perfect. And open across the line. Right, we have one final version coming up now with the driving line on without me speaking. Enjoy.